Welcome back to Shadows in the Pines with your hosts, Dan and Becca.
Hey, listeners, need a break? If you're looking to step away from the heavier cases for a bit, be sure to check out our palate cleansing Mini Pines episodes, hosted by Becca. No murder. Just history, haunts, and strange stories from all across the Pacific Northwest. It's the same eerie atmosphere you love, just a little lighter, a little weirder, and sometimes even a little fun. New Mini Pines episodes drop every other Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you're not quite ready to leave the woods, but you want something a little different, tune in to Mini Pines, right here on Shadows in the Pines. Because even without the darkness, the pines still have stories to tell. Before we begin, please be advised this episode may contain conversations that are graphic in nature and are intended only for adults. If you are not in the right headspace, we recommend you pause, take a break, recenter, find your happy place, and continue when you're ready. We here at Shadows in the Pines appreciate your support, but your mental health will always be more important than the show. We hope you enjoy this episode, and as always, thank you for listening. And now, here's Becca.
Only it's not Becca, it's Dan. So, here's the deal. As our birthday days approach, Becca being the 27th and me being the 29th, we, of course, will be at CrimeCon in Vegas celebrating our birthdays. And her sisters are in town to celebrate her and her wonderfulness today or this weekend. So I will be doing this episode sans co-host, which is fine. It happens sometimes. I can talk to the empty chair. And you guys are stuck with me again. So instead of her reading a cold open, I will just let you know that that's what's going on. And I'll just give you guys a recap after I hit our theme music. Yeah. Show. So, like I said, Becca is out being celebrated, doing something fun, no doubt, with her sisters. And you guys are with me. And we are on the final episode of Robert Lee Yates Jr. So, this one's going to be a little bit shorter because we don't have a lot left to talk about. So I'm going to wrap it up. And then at the end of this, we'll talk a little bit about future plans for the show and what that looks like and what it entails, so forth and so on. So, we've been in this for 3 episodes. Episode 1, we talked about the man, his background, his faith, his family, the incident at Mill Creek. Ooh, excuse me. Him moving to Spokane. Episode 2, we talked about the 13 victims. The episode 3, we talked about the investigation, the Camaro error, the task force, etc., etc. And we talked especially about Prosecutor John Ladenburg's decision that he is not bound by anything Spokane negotiated. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Pierce County trial, the death sentence, 16 years of appeals, some of the questions that don't have any answers, and the 2018 Washington Supreme Court ruling that ends the death sentence without ending the sentence. So the Pierce County trial opened August 12th, 2002 in Tacoma. And at this point, Yates is 50 years old. He has already pled guilty in Spokane to 13 murders and received 408 years. Fucking 408 years. Like, you're going to die in prison. It's still a death sentence. It's just not, like, I don't know, it's weird. So, he is at this trial, and the only real question is whether he is going to die in prison of old age or if he is going to die by lethal injection. So the charges that he's facing are, of course, 2 counts of aggravated first-degree murder for the deaths of Melinda Lee Mercer, 24, found in a field in South Tacoma, and Connie LaFontaine Ellis, 35, found in a ditch near Parkland. Both killed in Spokane and transported across the Cascades and left in Pierce County. So where he chose to dump these women is what put this case in this courtroom. Now, Ladenburg has got 2 options. Accept that the Spokane plea covered his jurisdiction, or file his own cases. And he chose to fight. His argument was that Pierce County was not a party to that agreement, was not consulted, and 2 women were killed and left in his county. Yates's attorneys, of course, litigate the all-encompassing plea agreement, all the way to the Washington Supreme Court, and fucking lose every time, like they should, because Pierce County was never bound by anything Spokane County did. And we talk a lot about that in the show, about jurisdictions and things like that. So this is one of those where, it really fucks him over, which it should. So in the guilt phase, Ladenburg, of course, is focused on the Mercer and Ellis murders. But in the penalty phase, he opens the entire Spokane record because he wants the jury to really understand the man that they're deliberating about and who they're going to be sentencing. And he wants them to know that it's not just 2 isolated murders, but it's the culminating acts of a man who has been doing this since, 1975. And, of course, the defense objects, but is overruled. Now, it's not a very long trial. The prosecution rests his case on September 11th. The defense rests the next day. And on September 19th, 2002, he's found guilty on both counts with 3 aggravating factors on each. The penalty phase only took 2 days of deliberation, and on October 3rd, 2002, he was sentenced to death. And he was sentenced to death by lethal injection and becomes one of 8 men on Washington State's death row at the time. So for the families in that courtroom, this is the second time through. And Melinda Mercer's mother, Carol Bushell, testified at the Spokane sentencing in October 2000 and was there again. And Connie LaFontaine Ellis's father, Emile LaFontaine, she said at the Spokane hearing that he was proud of her and that he always figured she would make it, and he was there again. Renee Rouleau White was one of the other family members who was also in attendance who came, and my point is that they traveled all the way over there for this. So now 16 years is a long time to wait for an execution that never comes. And after sentencing, Yates is transferred to the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla. If you remember, the same institution where he worked as a corrections officer in 1975, which is the year he killed Patrick Oliver and Susan Savage 12 miles down the road at Mill Creek. And he's now the inmate. Now, of course, the appeals begin immediately, and their primary argument is that the Spokane plea was all-encompassing, resolving his exposure everywhere. And the Washington Supreme Court ruled on September 28, 2007, and they rejected every argument. They said Pierce County was not a party to the Spokane Agreement, not bound, and the proportionality argument failed. And the U.S. Supreme Court denied it in June of 2008. So by June 2008, by June 2008, every appeal has been exhausted, and he has an execution date set for September 19th. Now, 8 days out from that, Chief Justice Jerry Alexander signs a stay. The defense has filed additional motions. The courts require time, procedurally correct. For the family is brutal, of course. Kathy Lloyd at this point is telling reporters she fears Yates is going to outlive her. And the execution date arrives and recedes and arrives and recedes. Now, then in 2013, they get this habeas corpus petition. And then you have Governor Inslee's 2014 moratorium. That's what 16 years looks like. Not one long wait, but it's like a series of moments where it seems like it's finally over, followed by another reason that it isn't. So in May of 2013, Yates' attorneys file a habeas corpus petition in federal district court. The petition argues that he's mentally ill and that he suffers from a severe paraphilic disorder that predisposed him to commit murder. Fuck off. And the filing states he committed these crimes through no fault of his own. His apparent normalcy, the family man, and the church attendance and the military career, they argued it was itself evidence of dissociation. The normal seeming life was like proof of the illness, not evidence against it, if you can believe that crock shit. So the petition does not succeed, but what it does is place into the federal legal record a formal claim about what Robert Lee Yates Jr. is. His attorneys are arguing in federal court that their client's compulsions overrode his agency. And the families of his victims who have spent years being told the legal system will produce justice are now being asked to consider the possibility that he may not be fully responsible for what he did. And they don't find this argument persuasive. So let's talk a little bit about the parts of this case that don't have any resolution. Yates was stationed in Germany twice, from 1981 to 1984, and again from 1988 to 1991. He was based in Göppingen in Baden-Württemberg, and during the second posting, he was, by his own confession, actively killing women in the United States when on leave. So he had mobility, cover, and a pattern already established, and access to a population of vulnerable women near U.S. Army bases. So after his arrest, investigators examined possible links to unsolved deaths in Germany during those years, but ultimately no charges were ever filed. Now, multiple other jurisdictions also contacted the Spokane Task Force after the arrest. Fort Drum in New York, Fort Rucker in Alabama, and Island County on Whidbey Island. The 1977 death of 19-year-old Teresa Hesselgrave is particularly worth mentioning because her body was found near Whitby General Hospital, which is the same hospital where Yates worked on the same island where he grew up. So he's 25 in 1977 and just 2 years past the Mill Creek incident. So Island County Sheriff Mike Howley opens an investigation that looks at 2 other homicides and a missing person case from the same period, but again, no charges are ever ultimately filed for this. In 2014, we got Governor Jay Inslee. You all remember him. And he imposes a moratorium on execution in Washington state. Not a commutation, a policy decision. A future governor could lift it with a phone call. But the legal challenge works through the courts on a parallel track, and the vehicle is State versus Gregory, brought on behalf of Alan Gregory, sentenced to death for a 1996 murder in Pierce County. And his attorneys argue the death penalty in Washington is administered arbitrarily and with racial bias. Who receives a death sentence is determined not by the severity of the crime, but by geography and the resources of the prosecuting county and the race of the defendant. So on October 11th, 2018, the Washington Supreme Court rules 9-0, so unanimous, that capital punishment in Washington state violates the state constitution, is imposed arbitrarily, is not rationally related to any legitimate penological goal, and the racial disparity is documented and noted. So this ruling applies to all 8 of the people on Washington state's death row. So all 8 of their sentences are commuted to life in prison without the possibility of parole. And one of those 8 is Robert Lee Yates Jr., unfortunately. So, and the commutation is automatic. It's not a finding that was, he's wrongly convicted. It's just one of those things. It's the application of a constitutional ruling to every person on death row in the state on that date. And he's still going to die at Walla Walla. The only question, is, it was whether the death comes by lethal injection or natural causes. And now we know that the answer is going to be natural causes. So this is pretty much the end of the Yates arc. I mean, he's still in prison. He's going to die there. And, it's kind of a really short episode, this one, but we got to get it closed up. So, okay, so I mentioned at the beginning that, of course, I have a little bit of things to talk about the future of the show. And this entire time, we try to evolve. We try to make it better as we go. Come up with new ideas, ways that the show can improve. And that is going to... The Yates series is going to end another generation of the show. Kind of the 2.0. Whoa. It's going to end the 2.0 generation. We started, we had some cool intro music, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We improved that intro music, we added some funny advertisements and stuff like that. And now we're going to enter a brand new era again, where the show is going to be phenomenally better. We're going to focus a lot more on things that are happening currently in and around our own towns and, you know, major cities. There's a lot of weird shit happening worth talking about that we can actively follow week to week as we talk about some of these older dirtbags. And then we're going to try to focus on a lot more lesser known cases. Like I said, this is going to be probably the last very well known case we do for a hot minute. It could be because there's so many other ones that I want to address that are worth talking about, that are just batshit bananas crazy, and they're worth talking about. So I look forward to you guys hearing next week's show. It's going to be much different than well, I mean, I don't say much different. The bells and whistles will be different. The meat and potatoes will be the same. Yours truly will be the same. Becca will be back. And we'll be on the verge of CrimeCon. Speaking of CrimeCon, we will be taking extensive pictures, videos. You know, we'll be documenting as much as we can and putting that up on our social media for you guys to check out so that you can be a part of the experience also. And, that's about it. So, hopefully you guys forgive this super short episode this week. There's just not much left to say about Robert Yates. He's a shithead. He's in prison. I personally think it's fucking hilarious that he's in the prison now where he used to be a guard. I mean, this has got to be doubly humiliating, right? So, for now, that's going to be the show, and we look very much forward to you guys joining us next week to see what we have in store for you.